Flex just announced 2 new table saws. We've got both of them here, the 8 1/4 inch and the 10 inch. We're gonna walk you through both models, show you how they're the same and how they're different, and we're gonna make a bunch of test cuts. All right, we're gonna start with the 8 1/4 inch saw. Now, there's a lot that's the same on this that we're gonna see on the 10 inch saw as well, but there's quite a few things that are different. Let's go ahead and start with what's obvious, and that's the rack and pinion fence system, okay? So real easy. Lift up on the lever here, and we're free. Press down, and we're locked. And this is a good solid lock. The other thing that I like that I saw as soon as we got the saw out was some of the green indicators here. So if you can see, we've got black and then silver. We've got contrasting measurements here, but this green really shows up well against both of them. So for people that have a little bit of an issue seeing, I'm talking to myself here, this is really, really helpful in being able to see, especially those 1/16 and 1/4 inch marks a little bit easier than on some of the other saws that we've used. So I like that a lot. Now, on the fence itself, we got a couple of cool things going on. Number one, we've got a light on here. I've never seen this before on a table saw. So we got a button right back here, and we got a string of LED lights that's shining down. So as we're making our cuts, we're gonna be able to see what's going on a little bit better. It's casting some light all the way across the table here. Nice. And the cool thing is this is not something that you got to change the batteries in. It's got an internal battery in it, and there's a USB-C charging port on the back side of that. So very cool design from Flex on that one. Now, we're going to get into different positions with our fence, obviously. Flex also made that easy. It's just a simple latch here, and there's a matching one on the back, and then our fence is free. So we can move it to whatever position we want to move it to, lock it back down, and we're good to go. Okay, nice stable fence system there. Keep in mind that if for some odd reason your table saw is not quite calibrated the way it should be, things get moved during shipping, you know, that's what these are for. We can loosen them, we can shift them around and get them dialed in exactly the way we want it to. When you're going to store this saw, you can take the fence off and it will flip underneath and lock on there. So when you're ready to store, it'll go all the way under there, get out of the way for you so it's not going to get damaged during transportation or anything like that. Nice design there. Going on around the controls here. So first of all, we do have a simple on-off switch. I don't have the battery in there right now, but it's just pull it out to turn it on, flip it back to push it in, or push it in to turn it back off, and you're good to go. You're going to notice when we do some cuts in a second that this has a really nice fast braking system. That blade's going to stop in a hurry. Pretty typical down here as far as our blade height goes. You got a lot of turns to get it up and down, but that's good because it helps us to get in a really precise blade height. So we like that. Similar to what you're probably used to on the bevel control, we're gonna unlock and slide, lock back to get our bevel. And I think you can probably see it better on this angle. Kind of what we saw up here with the fence. We got this nice green contrasting against the measurement, so it makes it really easy to see what bevel angle we're working with. And just like we should have, we do have a push stick stored right here. Nice beefy one. And one other thing I want to point out before we move on to the other parts of this table saw is notice down here on the right hand side, you do have a battery level indicator, and it is a push button. So you push the button and it'll kick on. It doesn't automatically come on when you turn the saw on. So whenever you're ready to check your battery level, hit that and you're going to see exactly where you are. You can see we've got 4 bars. We've just put a fresh 10 amp hour stacked lithium battery in there, so we're ready to go. Now, one of the things that the 8 1/4 inch table saw has that the 10 inch model doesn't is this side table. So real simple, it's just gonna pop straight up into position. I didn't have to grab a hold of anything or twist anything or turn anything to get it to lock into position. It did that automatically. And there's a release right here. This is the front side, right in there by the rail. It's going to release it down, and then I don't know if you can see it, you can definitely hear it, but you can see where it kind of starts to catch here. So it really does get into a position where it's held. Now it's not locked, but it is held nice and tightly, so it's not going to flop around on you during transport or anything like that. Now with this table up on the left hand side, we take our tape measure and bring it over. You can see we got just under 21 inches now of space over here on the left hand side of the blade. So that's quite a bit more than we usually have built into the table saw compared to most of the other ones that we've used. Now that we've got the table up, we can look underneath, and this is where our battery bay is. Okay, you can see we're using this 10 amp hour stacked lithium battery for our test today. But the cool thing is that Flex also has an AC adapter. So this is a true hybrid table saw, and the adapter is going to slide right in there, go straight in the battery port where, just like it is, it's not a plug-in like you have with like hybrid fans and stuff like that where you're using an extension cord. It is a separate AC adapter that you'll need to buy. All right, now let's talk about what's going on top of our table saw here. As you can see, we've got our blade guard installed, we've got anti-kickback paws on here, and Flex has really made this easier than a lot of the saws that we've seen in the past, okay? So your kickback paws, it's a pretty simple operation. This is just a spring-loaded button, and there's a notch back here that you probably can't quite see on the camera, but it's pretty typical. But to install it, you're just pushing this in, you kind of feel around and you'll get it in there, and then it's going to snap into place. So a lot of times, even for people like us who've used table saws a lot, sometimes it can take you several attempts to get these kickback paws on, but Flex actually made it pretty easy. And like we expect, your blade guard will lock into position up top and give you the exposed blade, so if you need one side or the other out of your way, you can do that. Now what's different about this is we're not going to actually just take this off and leave the riving knife behind. This is all one piece. So to access this, if we want to take it off, we're going to remove the throat plate. And this is another one of the cool things that Flex did. So inside here, we have a release. We're going to just pull that up. And then this is kind of a pivoting spring-loaded action going on over here. So as we push this away, it's helping to release. So it's a little different than other ones where we just kind of have to jiggle it until it finally works its way out. So I like that. Now Flex also includes on the back, it stores right back here on the back, a riving knife, just plain old riving knife. So in those times where you're making those types of cuts that you don't require the blade guard or the kickback paws, or they're not going to be in the way because you're cutting something really thin, things like that, you can do that. Notice though, this is not the type of riving knife that lifts up for when you're cutting and then down to be out of the way. It's just this one position that we found that it's going to be in. Now, most of the time, we want the full blade guard on, so that's what we're going to use. But we wanted to show you that. Now, the other cool thing is that inside here, when you're ready to change your blade, notice you don't necessarily have to have one wrench here and a second wrench here to make it all work. We have a lever to help us out, and as you turn, you'll see that this goes into position, kind of locks in there, similar to the way a circular saw blade lock goes in there. All right, let's put everything back together, and we'll move on to the 10-inch saw. Okay, so this is the 10-inch saw, and you can see right away that there's a lot of things that are very, very similar to the 8 1/4 inch that we just looked at. So we have the same blade height, bevel controls here. We have the same green indicator contrasting the black and white measurements here. Similar fence design going on up here. We have the same fence locking system. We still have the LED lights on here. So many, many of the same features that we saw before. There are some differences though that we can see right away. So right here we can tell that there's something different about our activation switch. It's not just a look. There is actually a difference here because we have our on and our off like we would expect to find, but we also have this CutSense feature right here. We're going to show you exactly how that works when we go outside and make some cuts in just a minute. Now, a couple other minor differences. The fence lock is over here on the right-hand side. So we're going to pull it up to release just like we did before, push it down. It's just in a slightly different position than it was before. But as we walk around the saw, most everything else is the same. We're going to have our battery and AC adapter over here on the left-hand side along with our miter gauge. Our other accessories are going to store over here on the right-hand side. There's one thing on the back side of the saw. This one does come with an elbow that we didn't get with the 8 1/4 inch. And I like this because that means when we're not using a vacuum, we can direct this wherever we want so that the dust is going out in the direction we want it to. Especially when we're outside, it's nice to be able to direct that either straight down into a bucket or straight in a direction where it's going with the wind and away from us instead of pointing back into us and blowing against us. So nice little addition there. One other thing, notice the capacity on the blade. Let's push this blade guard out of the way a little bit. Notice it's a little over 3.5 inches. What that means is you're going to be able to cut 4x material in one pass using the 10-inch saw. So good capacity on that. We'll see if it actually has the power to make that kind of cut in just a minute. So that covers all the basics on both of the saws. Let's go outside and make some cuts. So we've been teasing you about this CutSense. Now what this feature does is when it senses that the cut is complete, it's going to automatically turn the saw blade off. The benefit here is that you don't have to reach down and turn the saw off yourself. So it's saving you just a few seconds each time you make a cut of runtime. So you're making more efficient use of that battery. You're getting more cuts per battery charge compared to using it without CutSense. So let's go ahead and show you what it does without it first, and then we'll show you what it does with it. So we're just going to use some scrap 1x stock that we've got here, and we'll just verify real quick that we've got a good height on our blade. Make sure we're good across the fence. We don't want to take too much off. We're just making some sample cuts here. So that all looks good. All right, let's kick our saw on. All right, now without CutSense, I've got to reach down and turn that saw off. At the same time, I'm trying to manage everything that's going on up here. So, to turn CutSense on, we're just going to hit the button right there, and you see that green indicator light's going to pop up for you, let you know it's going. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a little bit more on that board. Okay, and then this time, watch what happens when the cut's complete. Okay, I didn't have to do anything. The saw stopped all by itself. Now, let's try a couple of things here just for the sake of experimenting. So, CutSense, turn the saw off by itself. Let's see what happens if we hit the power button. So in other words, I'm not hitting the power off first. I'm just gonna hit the on button and see if it kicks back on. Yeah, so when CutSense kicks the saw off, all you have to do to make your next cut is turn the saw back on. You don't have to cycle the power off before doing that again, so that's cool. Let's try one more thing real quick on CutSense. I want to see what happens if I back off on my cut in the middle of it. See if it senses the load coming off and stops automatically, or if it senses that the cut's not quite done yet. CutSense is on. Yeah, so I just stopped the board, I stopped giving it forward momentum, and the saw automatically stopped the cut. So you can, like if you're a little bit hesitant as you're going through there, you may find that CutSense wants to kick off on you, but it did feel like it took about a second before it kicked in. So it's not like if you aren't going hard the whole time, it's gonna be a pain in the neck or something like that. I've got some 2x stock here, let's try that. I like testing table saws with 2x because I can really push it. It's engaging more of the teeth, it's a tougher cut, and I can kind of get an idea if things want to turn on me a little bit, if we get some blade chatter, that kind of stuff. I'm gonna leave CutSense on because I like having it stop the blade for me when I get done. And let's just see what it does on this 2x stock. Okay, again, that was a smooth cut. I didn't feel anything, I didn't feel any chatter whatsoever, didn't hear any chatter whatsoever, so that's nice. And you can see I did end up going right through a knot right there, so that's pretty cool. Let's try pushing this and see if it can handle, you know, getting a little bit more oomph out of it. Okay, I'm not sure if you could hear it, but when I was really kind of pushing that into it, I did feel the blade slow down a little bit. I could hear it slowing down a little bit, but I was able to keep it going. Then as soon as I took just a little bit of pressure off, I could feel those RPMs kicking all the way back up. And again, CutSense is doing its job, working well. One thing I do want to point out about CutSense though, real quick, is it's not designed to be a safety feature, okay? It's not like SawStop. It's not gonna, if your hand touches it, you're gonna get cut. So don't treat it like a safety feature. It is just a battery efficiency feature. But as far as the power goes on this saw, I really like what I'm feeling. I like what I'm seeing on it. But more importantly, even when I was really pushing this thing hard, I wasn't getting blade chatter. Now it's going to be a lot to do with the blade itself, what blade you're using. It's a thin curved blade from the looks of it. And it is just the stock blade. So as far as I can tell, no reason to swap that blade out unless you just have one that you really, really love. I'd go ahead and use that stock blade just the way it comes. All right, so I like what we got from the 10-inch saw. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 8 1/4 inch and see what kind of power and performance we're getting out of it. Now, I did take a look under the hood, just a glance at the two motors, and the motor housings are the same size as far as I can tell. So I'm not sure if we have the same exact motor on both of these or not. Again, no CutSense on this model. That's only on the 10-inch model. That's one of the big reasons to get that one. But this is a smaller, more compact saw, so if you're looking for one that's lighter weight, and again, we do have that extension table, so nice little feature there. That felt very, very similar to the 10-inch as far as it was a very smooth cut, a very confident cut, no blade shatter in there whatsoever. So let's go ahead and we'll kick the one by to the side and let's go ahead and cut on this 2x and see what we get from it. Man, that was butter. That almost felt more confident than the 10-inch saw did. It might be the part of the board that I was cutting through or something like that, but that's nice. I like that. So one more, just like we did the 10-inch. Let's do one more cut. Let's really push it, see what it does, see if we can get some blade shatter, and find the limits of this thing. I don't know how well that showed up on camera, but that's a smooth, confident, chatter-free cut. And again, that actually felt stronger than it did on the 10-inch saw. Might be part of the board I was going through, not on the other one, that kind of stuff, but that was a very, very easy, smooth, confident cut. Best guess is that this is gonna outperform your 8 1/4 inch corded saw. I don't think there's much question about that. We need to do some side-by-side testing to know for sure where these are positioned compared to the rest. But if I had to make an early guess, I'm gonna say either one of these saws is gonna be one of, if not the best, cordless table saw that you're gonna be able to get your hands on. So let's go back in the lab, let's wrap this up. As far as pricing is concerned, the 8 1/4 inch as a bare tool is gonna be $449. The kit's gonna be $599. Now the 10-inch saw, that's gonna be $549 as a bare tool. It's gonna be $749 with the kit. Either saw works with that AC adapter we talked about, but that's going to be sold separately. We don't have pricing information on that one yet, but keep an eye on the description below and Austin will put that in there as soon as we know. If you have any feedback or questions for us, drop those in the comments below. We'll be sure to get back to you as quickly as possible. And as always, thanks for watching.